Am I starting?
I mean, yes.
Pretty
I
much.
guess I always kind of do, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Obvious Choice podcast. We're talking today about permission, but it goes deeper than that. I mean, the idea of permission is kind of like wishy-washy. It's kind of one of those words that doesn't mean much, but it's about whether or not anybody is going to support you in your thing. And sadly, as I have learned from experience, the truth is that they're not. Anybody who's ever released anything into the world will attest that all of the well-wishers and family and colleagues and friends and everything like that seem to simultaneously disappear whenever you release something into the world. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got their own stuff going on. But it feels pretty nasty the first time that it happens. The second time it happens, you're wondering if you're doing something wrong. The third time it happens, I think you just expect it. And I've been through so many cycles of this now where I've released things that I thought that this would make for a good topic for a discussion where we can not just talk about the problem. I mean, whatever, I just did talk about the problem. I don't know if there's much more to it, but I have a couple points here that I want to bring up for discussion with you, Amber, with you, and about ways to take control of your own destiny, ways to not depend on others. You can't depend on any media attention. Even if you get media attention, it's probably not going to move the needle in any way, shape, or form. You certainly can't depend on other people or influencers or whatever supporting your thing. It's going to be up to you. So how do you still make this thing happen? And so as I was thinking about topics and stuff for today, I thought that this would be a fun one. I put this to you guys in the group before because I said it'd be more of a discussion versus other stuff. And so anyway, you're gonna say hi really quick.
Hi.
There's the Calvin appearance for today.
Oh, it's my favorite when we get a Calvin appearance.
I like that.
It's because it's raining, so he comes home from school earlier. Versus
Each time it
school.
takes less and less convincing to get him to the microphone, and I love that. Like,
Can we get a bonus episode where Calvin is like leading the episode?
Do you want to do a full episode of the podcast one time, Calvin? Okay, he says yes.
yeah, of course he did. Of course he said yes.
So excited.
Calvin takes action. That's what I love. That's my favorite thing about Calvin is his propensity to take action.
He definitely
Calvin's
takes
not
action.
sitting around trying to figure out if he should or shouldn't, weighing and things. Like Calvin is the perfect example of this topic, John. If you think about it, because Calvin doesn't need permission; he's taking action.
He just shows up and whips open the door and goes on his daddy's podcast.
Man, he's going to get it. He's going to get his sales counter up for lemonade or whatever he needs to sell that day. Like Calvin's putting in the work. I mean, he's getting the reps.
He is.
That's all I got to say.
He's getting the sales reps for sure. We can interview him about that when we have him on the podcast.
That would be awesome.
So anyway, so there's a few ways that I want to talk about how to make this thing happen by yourself, and some of it does include collaborating with others, and including others in your thing. And I'll talk about that, like a major difference, for example, that I made from version 1 to version 2 of the book Ignite the Fire. Mm-hmm. One of the major differences that I did was I included a whole bunch of other people in the book. And I'll get deeper into that, but there's over 90 people mentioned in that book, and that was very much by design. Anytime that I had a thought or a point that I wanted to make, I looked for somebody else who had already said that or something similar, and I quoted them instead of me making that point. So I'll talk about why that is in the meantime. But the reason why I kind of thought about this topic is, so for the first time ever, I had to like pull data and look at stats of stuff that I've done over the years. Amber, you know this about me, and I don't think you know this or don't know this about me. You've probably never thought about it, which is totally reasonable, which is I quite literally never look at stats.
Yeah.
I have never once in my life checked book sales stats. And I don't think I've checked PTDC website visitors since maybe 2013. It just doesn't matter. Even Quick Coach, like how many people are joining every single day, it just simply doesn't matter. When we had somebody inquire about being a sponsor, Amber, and they asked how many listeners and downloads to the podcast we get, what did I say to you?
don't tell me. And then my brain said, tell John. And then I got yelled at for telling you anyway.
Well, I asked you to give them the numbers. Well, I sent a message to you and I said, give them the numbers, give them whatever numbers that they want, of course. But I don't want to know. So send it to them in a new email, please.
Yes.
You didn't get yelled at.
Well, not literally. You're just like, hey, I didn't want to know.
I didn't want to know.
No, you've never yelled at me. I just say it to be
But
dramatic.
I had to look for this book proposal. One of the things that you do, I mean, a book proposal is effectively a business plan for a book.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I need to do, what I need to produce are all of these assets and things that make me more valuable potentially to publishers. And we're going to craft a story with it, right? We're not going to include all these things. But in order to do that, I had to pull stats. And so I was really surprised by them. So physical, like books. So this is books, Kindle, and Audible. I haven't quite. So there's probably about 5,000 to 10,000 not accounted for. I'm waiting for one more report. But since inception, there's been 174,942 books sold. Digital programs. So over the years, like digital programs sold. 24,098. And then website visitors. And I knew nothing about any of these numbers, right? Like I thought like maybe like those two things combined were about 100,000. And website visitors, the PTDC has gotten 17,729,525 unique website sessions. And there's been 11.2 million unique visitors to the website over the years. And so none of this is to impress you. It is what it is. Like the numbers don't mean anything to the point where I've never checked them. The only reason that like the first time I ever logged into Google Analytics ever in my life was 2 days ago to pull this data. That's how little these numbers mean to me. I do it to impress upon you that like I've sold some shit and none of it and generating website visitors. And I've never had investment. I've never gone into debt. And really, I mean, there's never been any real media attention. There's never been really any real outside support. It's kind of been us making it ourselves, right, Amber? And like, I've spoken to a couple friends in publishing that are like big publishing people. And I just told them the book sales, and they're like, you are in the top 99.99% of people who sell books. And for self-published authors, I don't even know what that number is. Like that's across all authors, which, I don't know, it was pretty fucking cool. But all of this to say, yeah, we've moved some stuff and we've done it like largely based off of these principles that I'm going to tell you, because this is just stuff that I've learned over the years, because it got to a point where probably around 2012, 2013, I was like, why is nobody supporting me? We're doing all these great things. We're trying to help all these people. And y'all are just disappearing. Like to the point where even when Quick Coach came out, you know, like Quick Coach came out at a time when in the industry, I had a name that meant at least something. I built relationships with a lot of people for a lot of years. The vast majority of people completely ignored my text message. And these are like friends of mine. When I asked them to simply share into their Instagram story, in Instagram Reel promoting Quick Coach, a free software for their industry, they just ignore the text message. These are some people who I like might talk to every week. This is just the reality of the thing. So when I accepted that that was the case, I don't know when it was, 2012, 2013, I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm on my own. Let's figure this out. And that, in a lot of ways, is freeing. When you know, it would be nice to be able to depend on other people. I look at it as a bonus. Mm-hmm. I don't assume anything. In fact, by far the weakest part of the book proposal is going to be the influential contacts section. Basically, you're supposed to list like famous people or celebrities or influencers that you can reach out for promotion when the book launches. And I've seen my literary agent sent me like some proposals from other people, and I've seen them, and it's just like, I could call up these 5 people and get on their podcast. It's like, first of all, no, you can't, because your book's already come out. You didn't get on any of those podcasts. So number one, because you met Tim Ferriss once, it doesn't mean that you're going to get on his podcast, dude. But it is by far the weakest part of the proposal. Because I've just it was freeing when I realized that was going to be the case. So if you've ever put anything out into the world and you're upset and you think that it's you, that the reason that like nobody supported you or whatever it is, it's like, it's not you. Number one. Number two, here's what you can do. Anything before we get into like the actual points? Just on the general topic. Question. Like, what did you think when I sent this to you? Like, is this whole? I told you there wasn't going to be a monologue, and then there was a monologue, so I'm sorry about that. But was there like, what did you when I first sent you this topic in Facebook? Did you think it was going to be kind of what I spoke about just now? I'd be interested to know where your head went when I first sent it to you.
No. Yeah, whenever you send things like that, it's so little context that, like with the episode we did last, I'm like, I have zero to add to this, So right. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna chill. But then there was more context. Yeah, so I never understand where you're going. So I just have to wait until we actually start talking.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
I do have a question though. Sorry, go ahead, and then I'll ask.
No, you go ahead, Amber.
I don't know if this is a good question to ask now or at the end. So answer whenever you think is appropriate.
Yeah, that's cool.
But had you focused on the stats, how that would have changed your direction, right? And where would you have gone better, worse, and different, had that been something you checked regularly?
That's a good question that I wish I had a really well thought out answer. That's a very good question.
Sheesh.
I've thought about it a lot, but I've never like put it into words. So my answer is probably not going to be super succinct. Part for the course. But I think that the focus has always been an absurd focus on the product.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that way with Quick Coach. Putting myself in a position where we can take our time. And to me, that is a very enviable position in business. I look at where competitive advantages are. I look at where areas of leverage is. And when everybody else is taking investment and has to appease investors, or when everybody else is like scratching and clawing to make ends meet, and you're like, yo, I'm good, which means I can outserve, which means I can outbuild. It's a very enviable position. And so I think if I looked at the data that was available, I think it might have taken focus away from the long-term product and onto short-term benefits. That's number one. Number two is, what do I want to say is the second one? The second is that it's a distraction. This is a filter that I established a little bit later on when I finally put like language to it, but there's a filter that I put decisions through of whether to do something or not do something, or pay attention to something or not pay attention to something. And the filter is, would this change anything that I do? There's a lot of data that we can get, and it doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad data or good data. Even if it's good data, it's like, would the results of this, no matter what they are, would that change anything that I do? And the answer is very often, or if the answer with me has very often been, no, it wouldn't. no matter what this tells me, it wouldn't change anything that I'm doing. And so then there's no point in even looking at it. It would be a distraction. And then the final one is there's a fire hose effect. There's just too much available data, and to try to make sense of what actually is appropriate and what isn't, it's a fire hose problem. Most data that you're presented with on your everyday is very superficial, is either not appropriate to you, i.e. like Instagram telling you the insights and engagement metrics. It's like, if my goal on Instagram is to do better on Instagram, those are valuable metrics. If my goal is to leverage Instagram to build a better business, those metrics are largely completely irrelevant. And so what do you look at? What don't you look at? The same kind of thing for page views. Like, I can give you lots of examples of websites that got lots of page views that are now bankrupt. Because page view is not a page view is not a page view is not a page view. Like you're looking at viral type websites that get tons of page views, where nobody cares about the website. Nobody cares about the person. They can't sell anything. They can sell ads, maybe, that nobody clicks on.
Right.
And so what metrics then are you going to look at on the web? Well, are you going to look at conversion metrics? Are you going to look at multivariate testing, A/B testing of different sales pages? Maybe, and we have done some of that. I've never looked at them, but we have had people on our team doing some of that kind of testing. But to do appropriate tests based off of that, you need large sample sizes, and you need to be really, really good with data analysis. And going into it, you need to be really good at knowing what question you want to answer. Just to give you an example, if you're A/B testing a sales page, you can only test one thing at a time in order for that test to be valid. And you need basically a minimum of 200 conversions, give or take, depending on what the product is, which means that you need 200 sales to test one element of your sales page. And so you've got to be really good at figuring out what element of your sales page you're testing. I mean, most people are nowhere close to the amount of traffic or sales to be able, it's just so completely irrelevant. So what do I think would be different, Amber, if I looked at the stats? I think we probably would have gotten a lot more distracted than we did. I mean, I think that we got distracted at times for sure. And if you actually think back to the times when we did get distracted, it was largely when we tried to measure data and make a customer experience map and all that kind of stuff. I also think it would have taken attention away from what really mattered, which is, at the end of the day, it may not get you ahead in the short term, but at the end of the day, the quality of what you build and the care you take care of your people is always going to win out, so long as your marketing is good enough to get it in the hands of a critical mass. So whenever I'm marketing something, I basically set the goal of, okay, what's my critical mass of people to be able to see if we got something or we don't got something? Mm-hmm. And so with Quick Coach, it was like, we got to get 5,000 users. I'm going to make sure I market this thing so we get an initial 5,000 users. And then if this is what I think it is, it will show us that it's that by growing organically from there. And it has. But if we got an initial 5,000 users and then nobody ever spoke about it and nobody really used it, the issue is the product. So that's the three elements, right? Once you get it into a critical mass of people's hands, then it comes down to the product and the care. And then at a certain point, maybe you start scaling it, looking at the data, but most people are never at that point. And I don't expect that I'll ever be at that point again. I just don't. Not that I don't think it's a bad idea to run a data-driven business. I think it is unbelievably hard. I think there are a lot of ways to run a business that are easier. And I think it's too easy to look at the wrong data because of the fire hose effect and have it lead you astray and not focus on the stuff that really matters first. that having been said, a lot of people would disagree with me. So
thanks.
That's a good question. I didn't expect to talk about that. What are we going to start with? Including others. Okay. If you want somebody to talk about your thing, they need to benefit in some way by talking about your thing. So you can pay them, which, happens. And so you can pay him to advertise and just share the thing and just pay him money, or you can pay him an affiliate. Like the reason why most people suggest, the reason why you often see suggestions for other software platforms in like Facebook and Threads and stuff like that is there's affiliate links. Users get rewarded in some way, usually financially, or other people who have websites who write reviews of software, they're all affiliate links. They're all getting paid money for referring that thing. I got paid money for referring software platforms. I mean, this is how it works. There's nothing wrong with it, but you have to understand that. Part of one of the struggles that I knew we would run into with Quick Coach is that our software is free to use. We don't have an affiliate link. We can't pay people to advertise. And so we were depending on the quality of the product and the user base it's kind of an experiment to share word of it, right? So you can pay them, or you can improve their status because they're a part of your thing, or look good by sharing your thing. Mm-hmm. And that last one is largely how I've gotten my stuff to share. It's by bringing other people up. It's like a rising tide lifts all boats. It's this abundance idea, isn't it? Where I spoke about Ignite the Fire. The first version of Ignite featured like 10 different people on individual things. The second version has 90 people mentioned in the book. And it's that idea. I don't think that I'm smart enough to come out with entirely unique ideas that nobody has ever said or thought about or spoke about before. I think that I'm very good at aggregating those into a central narrative and presenting them in ways that perhaps others haven't. But each individual point, like, I'm not coming up with all that stuff myself. I heard about it from somewhere, or maybe I came up with it, but other people have too. And so what I did is whenever there was something that I thought was interesting, I'd go out and I'd search for somebody else who had said that or talked about that. I'd quote them in the book, because then when the book comes out, I send them a copy of the book. I put a sticky note of the page. I highlight their name. And the sticky note literally says, I could show you like a picture of this. The sticky note literally says, "Look, Amber, it's you." Smiley face with an arrow pointing down into the book. They crack open the book. They see their name in it. Yeah, you bet your ass they're sharing that book. The best fitness articles of the week. How many thousands of people did we make good, look good, and improve their status in the industry and share good work, while simultaneously having them promote our business? The more you can include other people in your work, the better chance that your work is going to be shared by them. I look at it as just like, look at the network, look at all the nodes on the network. A lot of what I'm doing in the first draft, often in books that I write, I don't quite think about this. I make the points that I want to make. But a lot of what I'm going to be doing in the second and third drafts of the Obvious Choice book is I'm going to be going back through the book, and I'm going to be making a list of basically all of the like key people and networks that I think this book will really help. And I'm going to make damn sure that those key people are a part of the book in some way. This is part of how you market a book. And it goes into my second point, which is you've got to market a thing, and you've got to consider the marketing of a thing way before it's ready. Somebody comes to me and they say, "Hey, I wrote this book," or "Hey, I have this program," or "Hey, I have this thing. How do I make sure people know about it?" I'm like, well, you're a minimum of 4 months too late, probably a year. You had to think about all of these decisions in the designing of your thing. And so the book is an example where I'm thinking about all of the people that I think would benefit from this book. And it's not just fitness people, right? I think, for example, real estate agents are really going to benefit from this book. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for influential real estate networks. I'm going to identify key people in those networks. I'm going to build relationships with them, and I'm going to include a few of them in the book. I'm like a year and a half out of this book being released, and I'm thinking about these things. You've got to consider your marketing of a thing and build that in. And we'll talk about permission launches with like fitness programs and stuff like that at the end of it, which, I mean, might be more appropriate to you because writing a book is a terribly difficult thing for very little financial or reputational reward in most cases. As I've said many, many times, I strongly recommend against writing a book. Unless you absolutely can't not write the book, I strongly recommend against writing the book. I have a bit more on marketing before it's ready, but I want to hear what you guys think about this, because I don't want this to just be like about book marketing, even though that's a lot of what I'm thinking about.
These are all the same things that we say to our students in the Online Trainer Academy.
Where can people sign up for that, Ben, if they wanted to?
No, I did. I don't know, man. You know, I don't know since the first iteration of the podcast.
The ptgc.com/OTA.
That's why Amber's here. That's why we have an Amber. You don't ask Ren Amber questions.
Do you remember, Ren, in the Online Trainer show when you had a paper with like ads to read? And every single episode, no shit, you were like, "Where's that damn piece of paper?" It was one piece of paper with like 3 ads that were like 4 lines each.
It only had 3 things on the piece of paper. Like, literally 3 things.
Somehow we could never find this piece of paper.
And I didn't even have to ad-lib it. Like, it was written out in an ad form. It literally says something like, if you're looking to become an online, like, I didn't have to ad-lib it at all. I just had to read it. And that paper was always gone. It was always a scramble for that paper every time. But I made up for it in effort, John. Wasn't accurate, but I mean, but back to my point. I'm about to lose my point. These are the things that we talk about in the Online Trainer Academy all the time about the marketing piece, right? Like trying to wait. People try to finish before they start. That's the problem. You can't finish before you start. And what people want to do is they want to finish everything and then start. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You've got to start somewhere. The act of starting brings to you the information that allows you to adequately finish. And when you finish after starting, then your finished product is ready to roll out. Like, you just can't, you got to get started. You got to collect the information, got to collect the data. And your first point I love about the environment around you, the people around you, who you can count on and who you can't, because so many of our students, and I speak from the student perspective because that's my function here in the organization. I deal with students all the time. So many of our students are so disappointed and so focused in their marketing, in their business efforts on people who will never give a shit about what they're doing anyway. Right? I don't want to offend. I don't want to offend my face. I don't want to offend the people. But I got people following me from high school, and I don't want them to be offended by me always talking about fitness. So I don't want to be annoying asking for stuff. I'm like, nobody gives a shit. Nobody
cares. If people can talk about, like, take pictures of the ugly ass dinner that they cooked or some weird belief that they have, they can handle you talking about some health and fitness shit. Like, with what I put up with on my newsfeed, they will be okay.
You have a terrible newsfeed, Amber.
I do.
Yeah, it's just it's comically horrendous, and I love you for it because you share it so often. But the reality is, you're not selling detox teas, right? You're not out there selling wonder drugs that will grow hair back, right? You legitimately went and got paid for education and expertise to expertly help people with the one thing that they can't live without, which is their health. Like,
what?
You don't have that, you got nothing. Like, how could you possibly be embarrassed by the people who want the people who won't support you should be more embarrassed than you about you talking about health and fitness. I mean, they don't care though.
They don't. They just got their own thing going on.
It's busy.
Everybody's thing is more important than anybody else's thing. We're all the same in that whatever we do is more important than what anybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way that it is. And I don't know, man. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, to me, it's like, oh my God, look at me. I'm trying to help all these people. It's like, well, so is everybody else.
Right.
Is what I'm doing objectively bigger or better or somehow different or more unique or special than what somebody else is doing? Maybe. I don't know. To me, it certainly is. But to you, what you're doing is probably better and bigger and more unique and more special than what I'm doing. And you're probably pissed that I'm not supporting you the same way because I'm really focused on me. I don't even notice what you're doing most of the time.
Right.
I mean, like some of my very good friends, they'll come out. Molly just came out with a new certification on menopause.
Mm-hmm.
Like after they released it and like closed down the thing, I saw the notice about it and I was like, holy crap, new cert, that's amazing. Like this is like one of my good friends in the industry that I've worked with and lived with twice.
Right.
Like we lived together with our spouses 2 separate times for like 9 months total while we built our businesses. And still, I didn't even know they were coming out with this massive new program. Like, and to them, it was the most important thing in the world. And Absolutely. It is big and special and unique and incredible and amazing. And knowing them, it probably is really phenomenal. But I just didn't know.
Right.
Like that's just the way it is.
We're just cameos in everybody else's movie. Like we're the star of our movie, so but everybody else is a cameo.
Man.
Right. So like I'm Wonder Woman, but when the Flash comes by, nobody gives a shit about the Flash when in the Wonder Woman movie.
Right.
Right.
You
so
just
like
pulled out
it's
a Ren-ism.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was like good. Yeah, that was good. That was.
I wish
like,
I had
Ren always comes out with those fire.
That was.
Analogies.
I have another movie quote for later if I find a good spot for it. We'll
see.
see.
Cameos in other people's movies. Shit, that's good.
That's really very good, simple and easy to understand. I love it, and then I love that it was a superhero reference because you know how I'm about the comic books. So well done, Amber.
That's weird.
Thank you.
Comic book thing is just, to me, the comic book thing has just gotten lazy. It's like we get it. You're sad. You had a tough upbringing, and then like something
your parents
weird
were
happened,
killed, boo-hoo.
And then there's some woman somewhere, and then some bad guy did something, and then everything seemed hopeless, and then you overcame it, and then the world was saved, and then the next time, for whatever reason, it all starts over again, and we just hear the same story said a different way. Mm-hmm. But this time, the skin color of the person is different because now it's 2023 and not 2015.
Everybody's angry.
It's just like come on, man.
Skin color or sexual orientation will do it, John. Either one. I think there's a dartboard, and every other place on the board is skin color, and every other place is sexual orientation. Like, all right, guys, what are we doing with the Flash this year?
That would be amazing.
Right.
That'd be an amazing reel series. Okay, if we were going to redo this, we'll throw the dart and we'll make a reel based on this.
It's basically
somebody do that, please.
So let me finish up on this idea of marketing something before it's ready. It's a small point, but I think it's worth adding. I believe very much in sharing the process as you're building something up. There's a story that I'll tell. It was one of Allison's girlfriends, naturopathic doctor, really, really smart, well-educated, and she had this secret project. Okay. And we were staying at her place. She lives in a different town. I won't say where because it doesn't matter. She lives in a different town. We're staying in a place, and she said she's working on this secret project, but she can't tell us. She hasn't told anybody. She's been working on it for a year. She can't tell anybody. And but it's really, really good. But she's afraid that if she tells somebody, they're going to take her idea, right? And then we didn't hear anything else about it ever again. And then, like, God, years later, I don't even know how long. I mean, years later, like 2-3 years, easy. She comes out with a textbook on something. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I've literally made over $10 million at this point. Self-publishing a textbook, selling it to our audience. You would be hard-pressed to find somebody probably who's better served to help you figure out how to build and market and sell this thing. But because you were so scared that somebody was going to take your idea, and I mean, it was like she sold some to friends and stuff like that. And it, you know, sadly, it didn't go anywhere because it's probably really good. But like selling a textbook is really hard. Nobody's going to steal your idea. Your idea isn't that good. And there was something that somebody said. Her name was also Carolina. And Carolina Stolier. So she was the first manager I ever had when I was a personal trainer. Carolina Stolier. And she was great. Super smart, big business, good business background. And I remember I met with her when I was doing the PTDC. I remember I met with her like very early on. And she was just like somebody I admired for business. So I went to her for business advice, right? And she stopped me at one point. I was telling her about something I was doing. Doesn't matter what it was. I don't even remember what it was, but I was telling her about something I was doing. I was like, yeah, it's great. And like, nobody's done this before. And she just stopped me. And she's like, if that's true, it is a shit idea. And she's like Spanish. And so she said it with an accent.
It's even better.
But she's right. If nobody's done it already in 2023, bro, it is a shit idea.
It's not the idea, it's the execution. Everybody has great ideas.
It's the execution of the thing. And to me, part of the execution of the thing is creating excitement and anticipation of the thing as you're building the thing for two reasons. One, it gives you immediate... Well, in this world today where we can get immediate feedback on stuff, you can fire stuff off on... I'm literally writing a book, using a podcast, and using Facebook to get immediate feedback on every single thing I'm writing, and then iterating on those sections for the book. We live in a world where you can get immediate feedback on stuff, and you can iterate in real time as you're building it. How incredible is that? Mm-hmm. And you create excitement around the thing. You build up an audience for the thing as it's being built, all at the same time. To me, that's part of execution. Mm-hmm. You're not building anything proprietary, man. You know how many trainer softwares have come out since Quick Coach? You know how many you've heard of? It's execution of the thing. Their tech is probably fine. Mm-hmm. Is our tech super special? No, I think it's good. I think we built it with a genuine, with a thoughtful and educated approach that's probably unmatched simply because of our unique positioning and our experience in the field. But is our tech that much better? Nah. We could give somebody else our code base. I don't think they'd be able to do what we're doing with it because it's the execution of the thing. So market before it's ready. Collaborate specifically. So the next point here, my third point, is collaboration. But collaboration, like, it's not just like work with anybody. I think first you have to have a vision, and then you go forth and collaborate. If you're trying to build a social media profile, for example, what platform do you want to do well on? Right? You got to choose one. Not this omnipresent shit. Talk about that in 10 years. You got to choose one. You got to get really good at that. Part of getting really good at one is integrating yourself in the network on that platform. There are people on every platform that are influential on that platform that are relatively irrelevant on other platforms. There are some people that are just like big deals everywhere, right? But for the most part, every platform has its own micro and mega celebrities in whatever you do. And so your goal is to collaborate, is to identify those people and work to collaborate with them if you want to build. If you want to build a business, collaboration comes down to who is it that already serves my customers in a different way? There's the example of Jeff Steinberg. I think we've shared that example on here before. But there's the example of Jeff Steinberg, who's a trainer or coach who helps, busy mom and dads something get fit something, right? And his content wasn't converting. Well, it's because, what are you going to say? Here's how you manage your time better. Like what are you going to say to really stand out on terms of content? And so he's in a mentorship, and what we worked with him on is, okay, well, there's all these mompreneurs who are super inspirational, who are micro influencers, largely because they're super inspirational. Why not? And a lot of them build healthy companies, healthy versions, like basically more expensive, healthy versions of stuff you can get in Walmart, let's say. Because they had a problem and they weren't satisfied by current solutions. So that's Jeff's perfect customer. Their customer, somebody who pays more for a premium version that's healthy and organic or whatever it is as a new mom, is the exact type of person that Jeff is also targeting in a different way. And so I introduced him to a friend of mine, Rowena, who runs I'll give her a shout out, Happy Mama Co. She runs a phenomenal business, pre and postnatal bags, basically like preparation bags. And we buy these for almost all of our friends who have babies. We'll buy a bag. It's a great thing. We used it for our own pregnancies as well. And the bag is like $288, I think it is, for their top level bag. So Jeff went to her. I introduced him to her, and he bought a bag. And they did a joint giveaway, a collaborative giveaway. Right? She gets a sale. She's happy. She has 20-some thousand followers on her page because she's inspirational and she's done all of this stuff to get media and in all of these female empowerment, mompreneur type groups and communities and stuff like that. And in order to join the giveaway, a person had to like both Instagram pages and join Jeff's Facebook group for fit parents, where the winner was going to be announced. Jeff's program costs $2,000. He can do this 7 times and get 1 customer. Collaboration is really powerful when you do it right, but you've got to be pretty strategic with it.
This is my favorite of the things on your list.
Collaboration. Let me give a shout out to Unbound Merino first, and then I want to hear why it's your favorite.
Speaking of collaboration.
Thank you to our sponsors for today's episode. Unbound Merino, you've heard me talk about them before. I love this company. I love the people. I love the clothing. I'm wearing their t-shirt right now, the V-neck. This is my favorite shirt. It's the one shirt that I wear. I think I've got 12 of them last time I counted. They fit well. They're super comfortable. If you are looking for new clothing that fits, that, looks great no matter where you go, doesn't have ugly logos, it's merino wool, so it's the best material ever in the planet. Check them out. They sponsored the podcast. We love them, but I've been buying their clothes for 6 years, well before they sponsored us. There's a link in the bio of this episode, and you can use coupon code Goodman and get 10% off the first episode. Len, why is this your favorite topic?
Because
your favorite point.
It permeates every area of your business, right? You want to learn
it's
something.
$100 word.
You want to learn something? Collaborate with somebody. You want more influence? Collaborate. You want to be introduced to a totally new audience? Collaborate. You want the perks of good, I would say friendship's a strong word, but I would lean in that direction. You want the benefit of friendship? Collaborate with people.
Professional relationships.
Relationships, probably better. But we don't do anything professional here, so I consider you both friends. But if you're doing something professional,
I would argue, Ren, that what we're doing here is more professional than trying to pander to some bullshit norm that is in no way aligned or honest or true to ourselves. I would argue that what we're doing here is absurdly professional and trying to put on a mask because somebody somewhere says that they might get offended because we used a bad word is not professional.
As a as a Generation Xer, John, I reject everything you just said.
That's fair.
Although I'm interested in continuing to participate in it, I just want to reject it. On a fundamental level. However,
that's cool.
You waste so much time on not just social media. You waste so much time in a community of whatever your business community is by trying to chop people down so that you can be taller in the industry. Again, whatever that industry is,
Right.
When the simplest and best method is to isolate the people who are doing great work that are also good humans and tell them, hey, I love what you're doing and my mission aligns with what you are doing. I can't do it all myself. So I would love to collaborate with you so that you help the people that are meant to help you, and I can help the people that you're meant to help, and I can help the people that I'm meant to help. Because all of the trash salesman people seem to all be in agreement of selling trash. It's only the people that are really qualified to help people that are siloed so often, particularly in this business, right? Whether it's MLM, no disrespect, but they're so united. And I always feel like the actual experts are always so divided and or divisive in their language. And it just doesn't help people. Like, I don't see how you could have a mission to help people and not collaborate. It just doesn't make sense to me.
One of the biggest things that grinds my gears is that there's a lot of people out there that have realized that the best way to build their own platform is to shit on somebody else that they think does something stupid. And it's interesting because all these people say, my mission is to take down the BS of the industry. Meanwhile, what they are actually doing with their talking head video in response to something else they don't agree with is they are promoting the type of material, the very type of material that they say that they're against, for their own personal gain, thereby exacerbating the problem.
Yes.
If you don't like something, you need to ignore that thing. You don't go and try to create a viral piece of content for your own benefits, thereby giving more attention, the very attention that person created that piece of content in the first place to generate.
Yes.
You don't give them more attention by talking about it. And they know, you're doing that. You're doing that. That's one of the biggest things that grinds my gears. The best way, I think, to win long-term and create a valuable audience, it might not be as big, but a valuable audience in our industry is actually to figure out who is selling things that are tangentially related to what you sell. Related, but not the same. Basically, who's serving the same customers in a different way, and figure out a way to collaborate with them.
It's like the historical reenactor coach, right? So like the people that build the costumes, the weaponry and shoes, and who set up the events and all of that. They all have the same customer, just from different needs.
People who buy one thing buy all the things. It's 100%. Way easier to find somebody who's already a customer of one thing and get them to buy something related to that than it is to try to convince somebody to act in a way that is in any way unnatural to them. I want to talk about permission launches. Go for it, Len, and then I want to talk about permission launches.
And I just want to make this point. Like, it's so rare in industry today for someone to genuinely come to you with a true collaborative effort. Like, you set yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, so high against a very low bar in our industry. The person you collaborate with, they never forget a great collaborator. Like, you become the obvious choice for that person in every context that's applicable to what you do from then on. Like, it's like whatever animals make for life. Like, it's one of those things, right? And I think penguins. People just it's squids. It's just squids that made for life.
No, penguins.
Oh, penguin. Oh, yeah, there you go. Somebody been watching March of the Penguins. But you or Mr.
I saw
Popper's
penguins have sex once. I'll tell you about that afterwards.
Oh my gosh. It's always with the sex. But in any case, there's a very low bar for collaboration, genuine collaboration. And you really want to stick out in this industry, be a great collaborator. Like there's a lot of free space there. A lot of it.
That advice also works for sex. Be a great collaborator.
This is true. This is true.
Okay. So
the bar's low there too.
I did I did a semester of university in Australia. I did my third year, like half of my third year of school in Australia. And one of my roommates, I was matched with 3 people who were also on exchange, and they were all women, and they all had boyfriends in Toronto, and they all cheated on their boyfriends and in Australia with like other Australian guys. And I was in the middle of it, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this, guys. But they were all like crying about all this stuff, and it was just a bad situation. But we were at this area in Australia, I don't even remember where it was, where there were all these like mini penguins that basically ran like from the ocean underneath these bridges to this area where they would mate. And you go there like at dusk, and you just see all these penguins, all these like small penguins like run underneath the bridge, and it was super fun. So we were there. And all of a sudden I just hear Margot just yell, "John, they're doing it." And I sprinted, buddy. Yo, I got on my horse to see this.
Oh my god!
So I sprinted to where, and so okay, there's basically like one penguin lying down, like one way, and the other penguin, it kind of looks like it's trying to like jump over it from behind, but can't quite make it. You know, so it's like standing up, but its arms are going like this, like, and it's like this loud shrieking sound. Penguin sex. Okay. So
thank you for that sound effect.
Far too graphic.
All right. Permission marketing, really quick. Let's hit on this one, because I think this is a permission launches. I love permission launches, man. I love permission launches. So as you are thinking about launching something, this is a great way to launch a coaching program, by the way. Instead of going to somebody and saying, I have a program that will help you lose 5 pounds. Would you like to buy it? You have an idea for a program. Maybe the program's even finished. It doesn't actually really matter. But you call it 10 people who you think would be perfect for the program. They're your avatar. They're the people you want to serve, right? And these might be people you're connected with. You might just like put out a call and be like, look, I'd love to speak with 10 mums who have had one kid in the last 2 or 3 years, and they were, going to the gym consistently before and haven't quite figured out how to get back to it in a way that works for them now that they're a mother. And I just love to speak to these people to get some information, to learn more about them so that I can build, a good program. Does anybody know anybody? Right. And you'll be put in touch. So now you're on the phone and you're just asking them questions. You're learning about them. You're learning about what their struggles are. You're learning about what their frustrations are. And you do an initial call it 20 minutes. And at the end of the call, you'll say, hey, this is like, because it is like, this is your research. Like, hey, this is super, super helpful. Look, I'm going to take all this information. Would it be cool with you if when the program's ready, I get your feedback on it? Like, I'd love if we can, like, I'll reach out to you when the time comes, probably be 2 or 3 weeks. And I'd love to kind of like talk through it and like get any feedback, like how it feels. Would you be okay to talk about that? They're all going to say yes. Basically, all of them are going to say yes. So now you have permission to reach out to them and basically A, practice pitching your program, B, practice pitching your program to somebody who is invested in it, has already been thinking about something like this because they've spoken to you about it and are thinking about it for 2 weeks. And C, you basically built the perfect thing for them, didn't you? Because they told you what to build. So then you get back on the phone with them 20 or 30 minutes later and you just walk them through the thing and your reasoning for doing that and you're getting their feedback. And then at the end of that call, you say, look, I'm going to do an initial group. It's going to be kind of a beta group to test this out with a very, very small group of people, 5, 10 max. and it's going to be half the price that it's going to normally be. It's going to be $200. I'll probably price it around $500. I'm not sure when it's fully ready to go. Do you know anybody who might be interested in participating? We're going to start next week. The odds that at least some of them will say yes, like not just like, yes, I know somebody, but like, actually I might be. Mm-hmm. And you just get them signed up right there and get a deposit from them right there to reserve their spot, are pretty good. Because you basically designed this program with them in mind, and then they told you how to build their perfect program. And they already know you understand them because you've already spoken to them for an hour on the phone, most likely. But they also will often put you in touch with somebody. People who are in a position like that example that I used. What did I say? Women who have just had their first child within the past 2 years who, what were the other bits of it? Like haven't worked out before consistently. But couldn't figure out a way to fit it back in. It was something like that. These people are genuinely like, they know other people. I don't like that. Like women of that age who are having children know other women that are of that age that are having children. You know Absolutely. What I'm saying? So if somebody signs up, you say, hey, one of the things that I've realized with anything that I've ever done is when people are in a program with somebody else, they often have better results. It's an accountability buddy. Do you have anybody who you think? And like, that's how you do a permission launch. That's how I launched Quick Coach. I don't know if I've ever told that story. I had 50 people 48 or something like that, who I got on the phone with before I had anything to show them. And I just asked them about, these are like folks in the industry. And I asked them about how they built their programs, how they documented their programs. Some of them were in person, some of them were online. And I just gathered information. And then when we had the first version ready, I got on the phone with them again. And a lot of them helped share the system. A lot of them, were there from the beginning, which is a really cool point to be at. Okay. 4 points. Include others. Market before it's ready. Collaboration. And permission launches. Mm-hmm. It's all around this idea of, I think it's very important and valuable to accept that you're on your own. Nobody's going to help you from the goodness of their heart. Maybe some people will, but consider that a bonus. You certainly cannot rely on that. You've got to design into your day, your business, your product, reasons or ways or systems for it to find its people. And we're going to take up some time while I find an episode to recommend.
Yeah, the other thing about the permission marketing is that there's a little bit of buy-in. And that's one of the things I liked about it. You talked earlier about doing things that make people, they share it because it helps them, or they share it because it makes them look good. The permission marketing thing really falls into that gap because they can then say, oh, this is the program that I was helping the trainer guy with, and I was answering questions, and now it's built. I'm going to join it. You should join it with me. Like, you're really in a good place when people feel like they're a part of what you've built, which is hence permission marketing. So that can't be overlooked, man.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that. And thank you for taking up a little bit of time while I find this episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend, if you're looking for something else to listen to right now, I'm going to recommend you check out episode 55. This is part 1 of a 3-part series that's called 55 Lessons from a $5 Million a Year Coaching Business. Part 1 is actually just Amber and I. Sorry, when you were on part 2 and 3. But this one I got a lot of messages about. It was deeply personal in a lot of ways, Amber. This is the one where we talked about living close to our parents. We talked about a lot of kind of what freedom meant to us and shared a lot of the journey that we've been on. So I probably got more messages about this episode saying that it was meaningful to them than any other episode that we've recorded. So if you're looking for another episode to listen to, I do recommend episode 55. Scroll back in your app, wherever you're listening to this. Check it out. 55 lessons from what was it? Something lessons from Oh, shit, I screwed that up.
Something $1 million coaching business.
22 lessons from a $5 million coaching business. Part 1. Part 1 is much deeper, more personal. I think parts 2 and 3 get a little bit more like technical and tactical. Mm-hmm. So the 3-part series is definitely worth listening to. And yeah, thanks for this conversation. I didn't quite know how this topic was going to go, but I feel like it was a good balance of theory, but also like tactical, like you can do this.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, neato, guys. Well done. Awesome. Way to podcast.
You remind me of, I had a manager when I used to work at Best Buy when I was like 17. He'd walk up by everybody, he'd give everybody a high five and go, phenomenal, like all the time, and high fives. It's exactly what he sounded
That's
like.
the most Best Buy, like button-up shirt khakis story I think I've ever heard.
Yes. Yeah, he was like, I loved him. He was so sweet. But yeah, super stereotypical. Like
that's the 40-year-old virgin was
right
based upon that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him James. I'm gonna call him James.
You use words like synergy.
Yeah. Synergy. Great synergy, guys. You really sold the crap.
Yes.
You really sold the crumbs out of that TV.
1,000% that is him.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, Rory, if you're listening, hi bud.
Hey, yeah.
I'm still going to call you James. You're still James to me. All right, podcast out.
Bye.
Podcast out. See ya.